Most of us spend our entire lives trying to build walls to protect ourselves. We think that strength is found in being hard, in being loud, and in winning every battle. But Zen teaches us that the strongest thing in nature is not the oak tree that stands rigid against the storm, but the bamboo that bends with the wind and the water that flows around the stone. Today, let us find the strength that lives in your silence. Let us discover the motivation that does not come from pressure, but from peace. A young man once traveled across the ocean to find a legendary master of the sword. He wanted to be invincible. When he arrived, the master did not give him a weapon. Instead, he told him to clean the floors, to cook the rice, and to watch the cherry blossoms fall. Years went by. The student grew impatient. He asked, "Master, when will you teach me to fight?" The master smiled and took him to a waterfall. He pointed to the water crashing against the rocks and said, "The water does not try to break the rock. It simply never stops moving. It finds every opening. It accepts every obstacle." To be a warrior is not to strike, it is to be like water. Unstoppable because you never fight against what is happening, you only move with it. We often lose our motivation because we are fighting against reality. We are angry that things are hard. We are frustrated that the path is long. But when you become like water, the hardness of the world no longer stops you. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You just need to keep moving. There was a traveler who was terrified of the dark. One night, he had to cross a deep valley. He carried a small lantern, but its light only reached 3 feet in front of him. He sat down and cried, "How can I cross this massive valley with such a tiny light? I cannot see the end of the path." An old woman passing by heard him and whispered, "You do not need to see the end of the valley. You only need to see the next 3 feet. If you take 1 step, the light moves with you. If you take 1,000 steps, the light will show you the entire way." We lose our drive because we are staring at the mountain peak, feeling overwhelmed by how far it is. We forget that the only step that matters is the one right in front of us. You do not need a giant light to change your life. You only need the courage to trust the next 3 feet. Imagine a master archer standing before a target. He is perfect in his form, but his teacher places a bowl of water on the archer's shoulder and says, "If you spill a single drop, you have failed." Suddenly, the archer's hands begin to shake. His breath becomes shallow. He is no longer looking at the target, he is looking at the water. He fires, and the arrow misses by a mile. The teacher says, "When you shoot for the prize, you lose your skill. When you shoot for the target, you find your mastery." The bowl of water is your ego. It is your fear of what people will think if you fail. Your motivation disappears the moment you start worrying about the reward. When you work for the praise, you are heavy. When you work because the work itself is your target, you are light. Break the bowl, forget the prize, just aim. As you go back into your world, remember the bamboo, the water, and the lantern. You don't need to be a giant to be great. You don't need to see the end to start. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. Be silent, be steady, be present.